So cheeky. Ooh. Okay then guys, so it's been absolutely ages since I've made a video. Last time I checked in, I had 100 and something subscribers, but then I've gone on last week and I've got over 500 and something. So I'd just like to say a massive thank you to all you guys for subscribing and watching my videos. And I'd also like to say a massive thank you to Funk Motorsport. I met these guys at Autosport International in Birmingham, and they're sponsoring my build with the products that you've just seen. So if you want to get your hands on any Funk Motorsport engine or heat management products, just go to funkmotorsport.com, type in MK Attack in the discount code, and you'll save yourself 10% off all products. Alright then, so today I'm going to be installing the oil temperature gauge and the oil pressure gauge. If you haven't seen my video on how I fit my water temp and my voltage temp, and also my external oil cooler, then I highly recommend you go back and watching those, because you'll get a bit more of an in-depth idea of how I actually wired it up. Not much has changed. As you can see here, I'm using a bit of, I think you call it a junction box or a fuse box, something like that, but this literally runs straight to the fuse box, which is behind here, and then you send the wire via here into the box, and then each of these wires that go to the gauges has its own fuse, so it's not as complicated as it looks. But yeah, so for you guys who haven't watched my previous videos, this is my oil pressure sensor and my oil temperature sensor. These are running into an oil feed which links directly into a sandwich plate which goes in between the engine and the oil filter. So to do this installation the way that I'm going to be doing it, you'll need some fuses. For this specific installation I'm going to be using 5 amp, some spades, some connectors, a piggyback, heat shrink, electric tape, some electric wire, thingy bobs, some other things, and then you're going to need the gauges which you're going to be installing inside the cabin. These aren't identical to the gauges that are already in my car, as much as I wish they were. This is an older Dragon gauge. The wiring's pretty much the same for both the ones that are installed already, but for this one there is no lights that go around this side, so if I do see one like for sale on a website or something, then I will pick it up. And this one is an Evo gauge. It says it's Evo, but it's more like a Pro Sport one minus the brand, but the wiring is exactly the same as you'd get for any oil modern pressure gauge. The only difference with this one is with the orange wire you have the option to wire it into a headlight switch, headlight switch, which gives you the opportunity to change the colour of the light from red to blue. So if you haven't got this one wired up or your headlights aren't on, then it stays blue, but if you've got your headlights on, then it turns red. So it's completely up to you whether you want to install it like that. For this specific build I won't be using this, and I will just be grounding this down or just capping the end, because I'm quite happy with the blue and the rest of the lights are blue. Okay then, so to install this is the oil temperature sensor. I'm going to install these separately so you get an easier idea of how it's all being installed. So for this wire you have your green, black and red. Red is your 12 volts / positive, black is your ground / negative, and then you've got your green, which is your sensor. The red is going to be getting wired to my fuse box, because that gives me 12 volts whenever the key's in the ignition. I've got my ground, which is going to be going behind the dash, and there's a bolt up there, so I'm just going to crimp it in behind there. And then you've got your green wire. The green wire goes from here into your engine bay and then onto the oil temperature sensor, which is located coming off a wire from the sandwich plate. Also, I'll just add that you don't need a sandwich plate to install your oil temperature and oil pressure gauges on your car. You can use the OEM ones, but for obviously that would be vehicle specific, so I can't tell you how to do that for your own car. Alright, so now that I've got the gauge sitting in its pod, I'm going to get the red wire and I'm going to extend it with some more red wire, and then I'm going to run that through this hole which I've got running through the side of my dash. Probably wouldn't recommend this for your dailies, but obviously you can do this a bit more discreetly behind your dash, so I'm going to extend this wire, run that through that hole there, and then plug that into that 5 amp fuse there. Alright then, all clamped together. Gonna plug that into there. These are already fused as well, so that should be sound when we start the car. Next wire is the ground. I'm gonna literally do the exact same, but rather than run it up to here, I'm gonna extend the wire, put a connection on the end of the extension, and then that's gonna be bolted onto a bolt which runs just up to there, which I can't really show you. Alright then guys, so now that this has got power to go into it and it's grounded, all I need to do now is give this the watt connection to the sensor. So to do this, I'm going to run a wire through the engine bay, which I've already cheekily done. All I've got to do now then is crump these two together, and then once that is done, I'll go to the engine bay and show you how I did it in there. Alright then, so these two are connected now, and if you're wondering why I'm using a bigger wire to run the sensor wire, that's because it's going to be going through my engine bay and I don't want it to snag on anything, so I thought the thicker, probably the safer it's going to be. That's just my preference. And also, if you're wondering on why the wires are so messy, these are pretty much just for demonstration purposes. When it comes to me setting it up again, well, not again, neatly, I will be like grouping all the wires together so everything's going fine, and then all of the grounds will go to one place, so it will look better once it's done. But this is just to show you guys so it looks a bit easier. But anyway, now that that's done, I'm going to go to the engine bay and then I'll show you how I wire up the wire to the sensor. Alright then, so now that we're in the engine bay, I've ran the wire through the back of the firewall, and here you can see the temperature sensor. What I'm going to do is I'm going to crimp this connector onto this wire. Also, I just realised another reason why I'm using this is because it says it's heat resistant, so bonus. But anyway, yeah, I'm going to put that onto there, unscrew that sensor there, put that onto there, and then theoretically once I put the battery in, the sensor and the gauge should work. Right then guys, so whilst I'm here as well, I've just put the wire on for the oil pressure sensor. It's pretty much the same as the oil temperature sensor, but it just goes on there. Instead, it's like the water temperature as well. So now that's done, I don't have to go into the engine bay again, and now the rest of the work can be done from inside the actual car. Alright then, so I've just got in the car, I've turned the battery back on, and now I've just lit it up and you can see the gauges. And if you watch this, you can see how it hasn't got the glamorous effect, which I'll change it out and get a bit more of a uniform one in the future. But for now it was more form over function, or function over form, sorry. So now that that's working, I'm going to put the oil pressure one in. As you just saw, I've already put the sensor wire in the sensor holder in the front, in the engine, and I've already run the wire through. So literally all that needs to be done in here is the wiring and the electrics, and then everything should be working fine. Okay then, so onto the oil pressure sensor. This is pretty much the same as the rest of them, but there's just a few more wires with this one. It looks a bit more confusing, but it genuinely isn't. So you've got your power going for the red wire, black for the negative, white for the another power, orange can go to your headlight wire if you want it to change colours, but if you don't, then you can just cap it off or just wire it in depending on what colour if you want it. If you want it to be blue, then you just cap it off or ground it, or if you want it to be red, then you just put it to a 12 volt or wherever your power's coming from. And then your green is going to be the same as the oil temperature sensor, and that goes to your sensor, which is inside of your engine bay. If you want to take a screenshot of this and see if it helps you in the future, then I'll be happy to help. So now that you know what I'm going to be doing, I'm just going to speed through this a little bit and then I'll show you the end result. Alright then, so typical me, I've pretty much just finished, tidied up all the wiring and everything like that. Just about to start the car and video it for you guys, but then I'll go back to the engine bay because I'm getting no signal from the sensor. And then I look at the sensor and realise that this fucker has snapped off. So the oil pressure gauge isn't working at the moment. All I have to do is replace this and then it should in theory work. If not, then I'm probably as confused as you guys. Alright then guys, so 2 weeks ago I completely obliterated the oil pressure sensor when I was over tightening it. So rather than just going online and buying a new pressure sensor, I've decided to go online and get a whole new gauge with this sensor with it. This one is the same as the rest of the gauges that I've got in there, so the lights go around the outside. So what I'm going to do now is just swap this over, I'll swap the gauge over, swap the sensor over, start the car up, and everything should work. Alright then, so everything's been put back together. I've reconnected the battery. I was about to start it just to test before I actually showed you guys, but the battery's absolutely dead. So that's why I've got that monster behind me charging me. Also, if you want to see any Honda videos, let me know and I'm sure I can rice the shit out of it. But yeah, so it's been on running for about 5 minutes now, so let's get it started. Oh yeah, that one's next to go. Okay, so voltage is okay, so let's start it up. There we go. And I think it takes about 30 seconds for the gauges to actually start doing anything. I'm also thinking about taking this out and creating some out of aluminium or carbon fibre skimming this, so let me know what you think about that, and that could be a possible future video. But let this settle for a bit and see if there's any difference, but it looks good so far. Alright then guys, so that's pretty much it now. The gauges are all settled down, nothing's bouncing around, so that's a positive, and none of these lights are flashing red to say it's voltage, so I'm quite happy with that. I still need to change this one out because you can see these ones are all completely different to this one. This one goes in and it's got a bevel around the outside, so I do want to change that out so it's a bit more uniform. But that should be the end of this install now. Alright then guys, so just before I end this video, I'd like to say a massive thank you to all you guys for following and subscribing, etc. So thank you for that. As a thank you back to you guys, I've got an oil temperature gauge and an oil pressure gauge. This one's from Evo Sport, this one's from Dragon Gauges, and I've also got 2 gauge pods for your dash if you want these or not. So all you've got to do to get these is subscribe to my YouTube and then go to my Instagram, like this photo, and then comment at the bottom MK Attack. And at the end of March, I will pick one winner, and then I will send this to you no matter where you are in the world. So thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you next time.